Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of What's on My Desk alongside with Adrian.
Hello, everybody.
Well, not exactly what's on my desk. You heard me a bunch of times say, oh, we're going to do this QVC type of show where we're going to show you stuff that we bought or new incoming shipments and things of that nature, which, you know, both me and Adrian talked, we figured it's kind of cheesy. The last video we did together was a market update, and you guys gave us a lot of great feedback. And one of the biggest comments that stuck with me was just two guys shooting the shit, right? So, yes, we are going to show you some of the stuff both myself and Adrian bought in the last week or so. We're going to talk about the market on some of these things, but for the most part, we're just going to do that. We're just going to shoot the shit and go from there. So he always says age before beauty, so I'm going to say you go first. I'll let the young one go first. So the first thing I want to know about is the Patek.
The Patek 5968. Yes, this is my favorite. I would say actually my second favorite Aquanaut that they ever released. The first one being the 5650G, the Advanced Research, the blue one. I think that's a great watch. This is a basically just an Aquanaut chrono and an orange strap. I absolutely love the orange. Big orange guy. The strap pops, the seconds hand in the chrono, and a lot of the indexes. I also love it on a white strap. I love it on a black strap. There's just so much that you can do with that watch. So I would say that's my favorite pickup of the week, the 5968A.
Okay, well, hold on a second. How much does that thing retail for?
$49,678 to be exact.
I don't know what that's for, but how much is this trading for?
So this is trading for over $90,000 today, and on the used side of things, maybe a little bit less.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. You're paying an extra 40 grand for an orange strap and a tiny little matching orange hand. You guys, it's no secret. I've told you guys before, I'm not a big fan of Aquanauts. He is indeed. 90,000 plus. I mean, look, used they're 90, new they're 95, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, that's a little rough. But again, look, this is pre-owned. What are you going to sell this? What are you going to be selling this for?
I'm going to sell this for around $87,000.
Oh, so you're not selling it for 90, you're selling it cheaper.
Well, new they're bringing 90. This we can't sell it as new,
I got you.
although it is a 2020
piece.
Good,
at least it's good to see that there's a thin line between new and used, but it's always the case with hot stuff. Well, I don't really have a strong comeback such as that, but I did pick up a couple of Pateks myself, and these are actually ladies' Pateks. Now, a lot of the guys in the business that tend to shy away from ladies' pieces in general. You know, a lot of these newcomers in the business, flippers as they dubbed, and Facebook warriors, what they tend to do is they tend to sell that, all the hot Royal Oaks, Rolexes, et cetera, and we do our fair share of that. But a lot of times, a lot of dealers forget about the ladies. And so here I picked up a 4897G. Do you remember the retail on this thing?
It's about $29,000.
$29,000 retail. It's a beautiful ladies' watch. It is not a quartz watch. All right, it is a manual wind, but this is not a quartz watch for a change. Majority of ladies' pieces out there tend to be quartz watches. It's got a beautiful charcoal-like dial. It's not too much in terms of bling. Love the satin strap on this. Probably even pick up a crocodile strap for this in white for the summer.
So I mean, listen, it's a white gold Patek with a diamond bezel and a beautiful satin strap. I mean, you can wear it, you know, ladies.
With a mechanical movement.
With a mechanical movement that's at a relatively affordable price.
Well, hold on a second. This is one of those Pateks that's going to discount. So this is a ladies' timepiece. This is not a Aquanaut or a Nautilus for that matter.
Correct.
What are we going to discount this?
We're going to sell it for around $22,000 is the asking price on this.
So retail you said is how much?
29.
29. So close to 25 to 30 off.
Correct.
So which is good. Now here's one that everybody has been screaming about. Now this isn't the men's version. This is the ladies' pilot version. And I got to take my hat off to Patek because when I bought this, the first thing Adrian said, that is the ugliest Patek ever made. When the men's version first came out, they compared it to the Zenith. They compared it to all kinds of ugly things. I think Shame on a Wrist did it best. I think he compared it to
Shrek, maybe.
Shrek. I think Shrek. I think he compared it to Shrek, right? But here's the thing. When this watch first came out in the men's version, I absolutely fell in love with it. I finally said to myself, well, here's a watch that's rugged looking from Patek. Like, if you take any sports models from Patek, like a Nautilus, even Aquanaut, they're not really rugged looking. This was a very rugged looking watch, and they made it in a precious metal, right? Even the strap, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the strap, but I think it still matches the watch. And when they went out and had the balls to repeat this in the ladies version, I took my hat off to them just the same. And this is exactly the watch I would dub. You either love it or hate it. There's no in between with this watch, whether it's a men's or a ladies. This is a large size watch. If you compare these two, you can immediately see the difference between the two.
It probably is the biggest ladies' watch.
It is the biggest
that
ladies' watch.
do.
It is. And this is why I bought it. Again, another one of those watches that's going to sell at a discount. Do you remember the list on this?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Look it up.
The 7234 Pilot is $48,500.
So I think it's in line with Patek prices in terms of ladies' pieces, big gold pieces. And again, this is something that will potentially discount.
And you're really getting a good bang for your buck there.
Yeah, we're gonna discount this 25 to 30 off.
Whereas Aquanaut, that's something that's most ladies want in the Patek Philippe
Well,
line.
we bought one last week, the white one, the 51. Which one was it?
5067.
The 5067A
Right.
was a white one on a bezel. Retail was what, 21 and change on it, and you sold
low 20s.
And you sold it for how much?
Over for $33,500.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's 10 grand over list, right?
And that's a stainless steel watch. Well, since we're on Pateks, let's talk about the 5200G Gondolo.
Gondola.
I like taking rides on the gondola.
But this is
When
a
I
gondola.
snowboard. So is it a gondola or is it a gondola?
I don't know, guys. Is it a gondola or a gondola?
Patek
Let's go with
Philippe
gondola.
5200G Gondolo. So this is a $55,000 watch
In
at
Italian,
retail.
the gondola.
The gondola, the 55,200 retail. This is something that we also picked out at a heavy discount. And to be honest with you, this is also one of those you either really love it or hate it watches. I know my dad actually is very privy to this watch. He actually really likes it every single time we get
Well,
it.
it's an 8-day power reserve.
8-day power reserve. It has a day date, white gold. So again, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck for what it is.
Listen, you have to consider the fact that Patek is not a cheap brand. I just want to show this thing on the wrist, and this is a dress option that will sit and wear pretty big on the wrist, but at the same time not as big because of its slim width, so to speak, right? Now, I do have a smaller than average wrist, so on my wrist, it actually looks like it's kind of big on me, but so this is actually a pretty decent sized watch. Again, another Patek that's not going to be selling at double list. It's going to be Patek that's going to be selling that 25 to even 35% off retail.
That is correct. And I actually think that of the watches that you can get for this price range, so something like this is going to bring around $35,000, $36,000. So there's not that big of a discount. They did discontinue this. But for the money, I think that this is one of the better Pateks that you can get.
And for those that kind of know Pateks or don't know Pateks, somebody can mistake it for a 10-day Tourbillon. I think you have them.
That's also very true.
Well, look, I don't have any more Pateks. I will tell you, you know me, I always like to go back in time and to the good old times when I was selling limited edition offshores like hotcakes and they were so hot. So obviously I went out and I picked up, again, remember I told you guys in previous videos, it's always a toss-up for me in terms of what is my favorite limited editions. And the toss-up is always between Montoya. Guess what? Adrian bought one too. But hold on a second. When did you get this?
Well, came last week while you were away in Miami.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Oh.
So apparently both of us went out and bought a rose gold Montoya. This is one of my absolute favorite limited edition watches. I've talked about the Montoya. I've showed you guys a separate episode in regards to how this watch is done to mimic the racing world, from the carbon fiber bezel to the rotor that's in the back, right? To even the stitching on a strap. This is a watch that originally came out of the gate at 42,800 list, right? And I remember those kind of things. Adrian doesn't, because Adrian was probably very young then. But long story short,
What are you trying to say? I'm old now?
this one, well, no, you're older.
Getting older.
Getting older.
Pushing the
The messed up part is
3-0.
that when you get older, I get older. It's rare. So don't get older. Long story short, a watch that went up to, in a high market, to $80,000. It went up to double list. Of course, crisis hit. A lot of things changed. This watch came down. But guess what? This watch is still trading at $55,000 to $60,000. Anywhere from $55,000 to $65,000, depending on how complete it is, which to me is pretty strong. All these years later, here you have a watch that's still trading at 35% over its retail value.
Yep.
Over a long amount of time. The Aquanauts haven't traded over list for so long. Here you are, you're picking up a watch that's complete for $60,000 versus a 5711 Patek that is not complete, because a complete, mint condition Patek with later papers of 5711 is more than $60,000.
Going to demand more. Yeah.
So this is kind of like where, when I run across these, if I ran across 10 of these, I would have bought them, and which will explain why Adrian bought one without me even being here. A piece like that, he doesn't need my consultation. So goodbye, Adrian.
I will also point out a few things about the Montoya and why it actually upsets me. And the reason that it upsets me is because it's such a good-looking watch that I cannot wear.
Well, he goes back to that little video he did where he sat in for me last Thursday, where three things I hate about this watch, right? The issue with that watch, and I don't know if we can zoom in on this, but if you look at this white spot on my wrist, that's actually permanent right there.
You can actually point out an AP owner
By looking at that.
by looking at that.
But it's
war
a it's a twofold thing because it's also the fact that I have a smaller wrist. Somebody that has a much larger wrist, this will never happen. It's for somebody that has a smaller wrist, this usually happens. Let's move on. Another AP I picked up was in the limited editions was the Carbon Grand Prix. One of the biggest issues was always the bezel. And later you've seen guys replace this bezel with a ceramic bezel. The carbon in itself, in its design, it looks like it's already beat up and chipped, right? You can kind of see it here, right? But in reality, that's how it naturally comes off. So it already comes off looking beat up. But the issue is that like this watch is actually in decent condition because you can still see sharp corners. But a lot of times you'll find these with the bezels beat up to a point where nothing can be done. And really the only option is to replace this. But at the end of the day, this is still a great looking watch. And this is a watch that at one time traded at about 35,000, even upwards of 40,000 in its high market. And today we're selling this thing for like around 25,000.
Correct.
25, 26,000. And that's sad, but also good at the same time. I told you guys before, there's so much stuff out there. Everybody out there chasing hype and trying to sell hype, but there's so many options out there because the watch game has been hot for a long time, ever since the birth of the internet. You know what I mean? This watch game has become hot. So I told you guys, sometimes take the blinders off, see what else is out there. What you got for me? Show me the new 41 that you bought.
The new 41. Oh, the OP. Okay. So here we have the new Rolex OP, as they like to call it, Oyster Perpetual Blue Dial.
You down with OPP?
Down with OPP?
Was that before your time?
That was before my time, but I
But you do know the song?
I get where you're
Okay,
coming
all right,
from,
all right.
yeah. So I'm down with this
Let me
OP.
see this thing. Get out with OPP! Not P, it's just one P.
Just one P.
Just one P.
Yeah, single P.
I don't think that song would have made it without the second P.
No, it wouldn't rock.
Never mind. So talk to me. So this is the blue dial, the darker blue dial. I want to see this thing on the wrist. In fact, I haven't handled this watch yet. I mean, look, it's a plain Jane Rolex, right? What's the retail? 58.
58,000. Sorry, 5,800.
I wouldn't be surprised if you said 58,000. But why pick this up? There's no money in this for us. You know that. Talk a little bit about the fact that we do sometimes have to have the latest and the greatest, just because there are clients out there that ask it, they want it yesterday, and why? Why did you buy this?
Well, I bought in a package of a few pieces, but I did buy it because, well, at the end of the day, we're a business and we will sell it, and we have a lot of requests for it. It's a 41 millimeter, perfect case size for ladies as well now.
I ordered one for my wife. I ordered one with the Tiffany dial.
Tiffany dial, it's sick.
Yeah, I ordered one
Tiffany
for my
dial,
wife.
sick.
What did you pay for this?
I paid $7,200 for it. We'll sell for $7,600. I'll be happy. Yeah. But it needs to be quick because who knows what's going to happen in 2 weeks.
Yeah, see, and this goes back to what I always tell you guys. You know, Rolex come out of the gate high. Now, it sounds funny right now considering all the Rolexes are high. They're all way over list, especially when we're talking about steel sports models. But even in a high market, I feel like it's still, the trend is still the same. It's still, it comes out high at the current high market prices, but it still will come down, which is why Adrian said we have to sell it quickly.
I also did pick it up because there's a few things I want to point out about it. I actually like it more than the regular Datejust 41, the comparable model, the 126-300 with no fluted bezel and on an oyster bracelet. Something about the dial pops a little bit more, and just the, I would say, overall aesthetics of the dial are cleaner. There's no date, which is the only downside. However, I think it's a really clean, good-looking watch, and it differentiates itself from the regular Datejust that everybody and their mother has.
Well, you tend to get biased, and the reason you tend to get biased is because, and I'm not, when I say you, I say you, me, both, and everybody else, is that because this is a new model, all of a sudden, you look for things that stand out, you look for things that you like better versus the other, because at the end of the day, a lot of the Rolexes, they all look the same, right? I mean, let's be honest here. Majority of sports Rolex models, they don't change much from model to model, but it's that mentality of, oh, well, this is the latest and the greatest and the hottest, and it's what those, you know, avid Rolex collectors look for, those little slight changes. That's what Rolex has always been all about.
I think your son Marcus needs to pick up that Tiffany blue as well to match his North Carolina Jordans.
My son Marcus came to me the other day asking me if I think he should drop some money on an Audemars Piguet, to which I told him absolutely not. Okay. So anyway,
Dangerous road to go down.
Let's talk about another AP. So this is probably the third Royal Oak Tourbillon chronograph, oldie but goodie, that I picked up. And why do I keep going back to this old watch? Well, first of all, this is a Royal Oak, and I think this and its stainless steel counterpart are the biggest sleepers now. And also, when I'm looking out in the market, I'm looking at a Patek chronograph that trades at $90,000, and then I say, well, here's another watch that trades at $90,000. I look for value in a lot of this stuff. right? Because if I'm going to sell this watch for $90,000 to somebody, this is a chronograph tourbillon. This is also a Royal Oak. This is a rose gold Royal Oak. There's just so much value in this watch that every time one of these comes off the chopping block, I can't help it but to pick it up. And for some reason, it's not the fastest and easiest sell.
And why do you think that is?
Well, it is big.
Big A.
It's 45 millimeters.
Right.
It is old news, as they call
Dated.
it. But how is it dated? If you look at, here's your current Royal Oak chronograph in a 41 millimeter, right? How much does this thing trade for?
$43,000.
$43,000. Now,
Pre-owned condition,
now pre-owned. Now you would say, wait a minute, this is double the price, but this is more than double the
I
value.
hear you, but like I said, Roman, people aren't looking for that tourbillon window anymore.
Well,
That's just what it comes down to.
still sell a boatload of these tourbillons, but anyway,
Right.
in either case, I will continue picking these up. I still think that under 100,000, you can't touch anything that's an Audemars Piguet, Royal. Hold on, double balance, the skeleton. How much does that trade for in rose gold?
160.
Exactly. And that's a double balance. Oh, wait a minute. You just bought a 15202 BC, the limited edition,
Yes.
right? How
Yeah.
much did you? How much is that watch selling for?
Forget about what it's selling for. The bottom line is.
Where is it,
it's
by the
a
way?
newer-
We did not get it yet.
We did not get it yet, unfortunately, for this episode. Hopefully, for the next episode, we will film it. The 15202 BC Salmon. Comes down to this. It's a new watch. Well, fairly new. Possible to get. That's about it. That's
It's
about
an
it.
ugly white gold on a bracelet,
Yes,
plain
but
Jane salmon dial in white gold for 130,000.
People like that understated look now. Less is more, is what I'm trying to tell you. For a
Okay,
lot
there's a
of
difference
brands.
between understated and ugly.
I mean,
You
listen,
like that
that's-
salmon dial?
You know me, I'm a salmon dial
Yeah,
guy,
he is a
so-
fan of salmon dials. The Patek, you picked the salmon dial Patek in platinum. I remember all that.
Listen, at the end of the day, what do I care? If I'm a man with a lot of means and I'm willing to pay the premium and that extra premium that I pay doesn't hurt me, but I really love the watch, what do I care?
Listen, I can certainly relate that in a lot of the stuff that's out. Because as you look at some of these watches, you're like, wow, how is that even fetching that kind of number? But I understand it's limited. It is what it is. You have a Gerard Perregaux here.
Yes. Something that I don't really frequently buy, but picked it up from a new client. Figured it was a good way to break the ice. And I think, again, bang for your buck. This is, I don't know what, $30-something thousand watch, white gold, world time.
Not only is it world time, it's a world time chronograph in white gold. And I guess this is more something I would normally buy, but Adrian doesn't have his blinders on. As much as you guys think he's out there buying Richard Milles, Rolex, and Pateks, he's out there buying stuff like this as well, because you have to recognize value. We're going to be selling this watch under $10,000 for a big 43 millimeter automatic white gold world time. And yes, it's Gerard Perregaux, you guys are going to say. But I've talked about Gerard Perregaux. They're an important company. They have a lot of history behind them. They have a lot of iconic watches that they made. And when we see deals such as this, there's no way in the world am I going to pass on a gold world time chrono, not to repeat myself, under 10 grand.
Speaking of good pickups under $10,000, this is a Portuguese automatic from IWC, which, so I would say the reason that I pick something like this up is I always get requests from people asking for a dressy watch that's affordable. And I think this is probably one of the best ones that you're going to get.
I'm gonna disagree
You can
with
wear
you.
it with the suit. You can wear it basically every day. You can wear it as your daily beater for under $8,000. Name me a better watch.
I'm going to disagree with you. In fact, I'm going to go back a little bit on this stuff. And because this is a watch before Adrian signs. This is probably one of the hottest IWCs when it came out. This is a model that sold, for the longest time, did not discount more than 20% off retail. 15 to 20% off retail is what it discounted for. What I said I'm going to disagree with you with is that this is actually a crossbreed in my mind. This is that dress sports watch. This is a big watch, right? This is a 42 or 43 millimeter watch, right? So this is a big watch that sort of has a dressy feel due to the fact that IWC always leaves a lot of real estate on the crystal, right? The bezels on IWCs are virtually disappear because of the design, right? And with that said, I just think this is a crossbreed. I think this is a sports/dress watch. So I will agree that you can wear this with a suit, but you can also wear this.
I'd
with
also
a
argue
shirt.
the fact that pretty much anything is a crossbreed. I've seen people wear carbon Richard
nowadays,
Mille,
you're right.
carbon Richard Mille with the suit, and I've seen Patek on a leather,
that's
on a
more-
leather
that's-
strap on the beach.
But
I've seen
that's
before.
more trends, like you know what I mean. And I agree with that. I can take this gondolo as you called it, and put it on with a pair of jeans just the same,
That's
or a
right.
pair of shorts. But in terms of design, I think this is a really good crossbreed because look, this is also a very thick watch, right? This is not a small watch, but again, I'm actually kind of glad. Like this is again a watch I would buy, and I'm kind of glad you ventured out there.
Thank you very much,
pick this,
Roman.
yeah, you're welcome. So speaking of oddball things, how about this Cartier Rotondo Day and Night in white gold? Now, I picked this up again in a package of watches, but I would have picked it up on its own. Now, again, big dress watch, but yet could most likely pass for sporty because of how busy the dial is. Even though this is not a chronograph, this is simply a day and night watch. The way that they display the day and night is absolutely amazing. Can we get in there? Or look how beautiful that is. I mean, a lot of craftsmanship, a lot of craftsmanship, and as expected from a house like Cartier, right?
It's a pretty incredible dial.
This thing retails. This is a manual wind exhibition back. The back of the watch is just as beautiful to stare at. It was one of those things where it's 36-some thousand retail. I picked around that half price mark, which means I'll probably be selling around that 40% off retail mark. And where do you go out there and pick up a white gold beautiful Cartier at under $20,000? Again, one of those things where
I'll tell you where. www.luxurybazaar.com.
Oh, look at that guy. So there you go. This wasn't going to be a QVC style show, remember?
Oh, well.
This isn't QVC. Like, we didn't get our nails done or anything. Anyway, I'm not exactly a hand model, but
I mean, it's not really something I do. I know you're into getting your nails done.
I spy a Hulk. Ooh, I got a story on the Hulk. Well, I know why you picked this watch up, but let's talk about how the market went up and slowly came back down and kind of stabilized. By the way, you had this thing serviced. Somebody, our service department went a little overzealous with the blue tape there. But anyway, you guys know what the Hulk looks like. So let's talk about the market. First of all, how old is this one?
This is a 2017, so it's pretty current.
This is pretty current. So complete box papers?
Full set. Missing a box with a card.
A box. Well, it does have a card.
It does have a card.
Which means it's a complete watch. Just so you guys know, Rolex
is a really, really, really strange. When they say, especially where we buy from, when they say complete, that means with a card.
With a card. Doesn't mean that it has the booklet or the box and everything. All that stuff is sold separately, believe it or not, because that's how this stuff ships. And among dealers,
Yeah, there's a whole business of guys that just sell boxes off.
Shout out to Josh. But how much?
So this is a $17,000 watch today. I mean, this is just where it is in that condition in that year.
Now let's be completely transparent. What'd you pay?
Paid $16,387 to be exact.
So you put in $16,387 in order to make $560.
It's gonna make somebody happy. So
this is one of those watches that we have to have. The amount of requests that we get for these all the time, people wanted these things. We always have to have, and sometimes we even lose. I mean, because when the market is swinging, we lose. Like, look, my buddy Luke.
Yep.
So I have a friend of mine who had one of these. Not has, had. When the announcement came that they're discontinued, when the new models got announced and everything else, I called him up. I said, bring me a Hulk. He's like, why? He's like, I'm going to sell it. He's like, I don't want to sell it. And the guy paid list for it, right? He's like, what, 85? What is it, 95? What is it? What's the list on it, 85? Was it
it was just over 9,000.
Okay. So he's like, no, I don't want to sell it. I was like, no, you're selling it. He's like, I don't want to sell it. I'm like, bring me your damn watch. Long story short, he comes over. I take the watch. I throw it up on one of the dealer chats, and I sell it instantly for $19,500 to a dealer.
It's very true.
But then went and probably resold it for 20, 21, 22. I've seen somebody asking $28,000 for an NOS one. It's absolutely nuts what was going on with this watch. This was, what, last month? A month ago or so? Maybe a month and a half ago? And he goes to me, he's like, why would I sell it? This is only going to continue up. I'm like, it's not. I said, you got to use common sense. This cannot be a $25,000 watch. There's just no way in hell. Maybe 50 years from now it will be, but then with the inflation, that $25,000 won't be the same. So long story short, I sold that watch to him. I call him up, what was it, probably 2 or 3 weeks later, and I'm like, yo, you want your watch back for $16,500? You already made. That's you making $3,000. He's like, nah, I don't think I want to do that. And the reason for that is because, look, timing is usually everything when it comes to Rolex. And what the biggest issue that clients, I feel like, run into with this stuff is that they get caught up in this hype, this FOMO, fear of missing out, and they pay at the top of the market just to see that same Rolex go down $2,000 to $3,000. I'm not saying this thing is going to dump in value half price.
Listen, we've also seen the opposite happen, where a lot of the reasons these guys buy these things is because they think it actually might even go up. So
but you got to use common sense. If it's at $20,000, where are you going with this?
Okay, well look at Sky Dwellers right now, gold Sky Dwellers. There was a point where people were like, how much more am I going to pay for gold sky dwellers?
You just sold one to a dealer. One was just sold to a dealer, yellow gold, for how much? You told me about it earlier.
45,000.
And the retail
no
is?
box, no papers. 48, I think it is.
Right, and this is a watch with no box, no paper.
Discontinued dial. So listen, a lot of people in their mind think that they're gonna catch it on the bottom. They're gonna like they buy a stock, they think they're gonna catch it on the bottom and get out at the top. So most of the time, they'll take a loss because historically,
About 99 out of 100 times.
Historically, when 500,000 of these are on the market, chances are the price is going to go down because you can get them at any time, any place, anywhere. So
they don't make limited editions not to limit themselves because they have the ability to sell 1 million of these. Right?
I will say this, that the one watch that is not exactly limited edition, but it is supremely limited production is a rose gold rainbow Daytona. So something from the Rolex line that is limited production. Look at where that's at.
I understand what you're saying, but it's not limited production. It's limited production due to the fact that it's a very expensive watch. I can just the same say, hey, like, give me a platinum baguette diamond bezel bracelet Pearl Master. They didn't make more of those than they did of Rainbow Daytona. It's just the Rainbow Daytona happened to have taken off. But at the end of the day,
right? But those Pearl
neither
Masters,
me or you know how many of those are actually made. I still would not be surprised that the numbers are quite high on those as well. But again, Rolex is smart. They know what they're doing when it comes to the distribution. They're geniuses when it comes to figuring out exactly how much stuff they should make. They know their demand. They keep it. It's very hard to sort of keep that balance between like overproducing and yet meeting enough demand to where the hype still stays alive. And I think I take my hat off to them. There's no other company in the world that
they
does
have
that.
it down to an absolute science. That's for sure.
They probably have chips in these things. I'm telling you.
So let me just piggyback off that, the whole hype thing and going over retail and what people want. Royal Oak Chronograph, chocolate dial, and rose gold on a strap.
Did you guys check out his video, by the way? The 3 things he doesn't like about this watch. If you haven't, he did a little pinch hitting for me. I appreciate that, by the way.
Yeah, so here's a watch that for the longest time, it was a 38,300 retail watch. It was a 20% off watch, 15% off watch, depending what it is.
Very comparable to the Sky Dweller.
Okay, so as time went on, they closed down ADs. They became boutique exclusives. Price started climbing a little bit more. Now, this is over 10% over retail, this watch.
Over 10% over retail. How about just 10% over retail?
Sometimes
Allow
more.
myself to introduce myself.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
What?
See, you didn't catch. You didn't
I didn't even catch it.
you didn't see that movie, did you?
Sometimes he just does so much talking that sometimes
No, sometimes the age difference shows. You know, when I quote movies and
like
songs
say
and
yeah, you
stuff.
start quoting some 80s stuff. I'm like, I don't know what you just said, but just
What year were you born?
sometimes you have to shake your head, and in one year out the other. 1991.
Also, 80s is no good.
No.
Well, how about like
A few
late
things I know from the
80s, like late 80s?
Late 80s.
Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg,
That's 90s.
89.
No, it's 90s.
All right, go ahead.
Difference between this versus that is that you can't buy this in a store anymore. AP.
Well, you can't buy this in a store anymore either.
You can buy a lot more of these in a store than you can these in a store. You know how many times I get a phone call? Oh, my AD just hit me up. I got a Hulk. Should I buy it? Well, duh. You know how many times the AD call me up? Oh, I have a Royal Oak Chrono.
Yeah, this whole
Rose gold on a
discontinuation
strap.
thing is a gray area with
Yeah,
Rolex.
it's a very gray area.
They can still be shipping it for another year or two.
But yeah, going back to my point, this is, AP produces, I'm not exactly sure what the number is, but it's obviously still very low.
It's much lower. I do know, like, in terms of latest numbers, like last year when they did the Code 1159, I know they produced a total of 2,800 watches.
Oh, really?
Across all models. So, like, that I know for a fact because it came from a reliable source, as you can imagine.
Sure.
But this, I couldn't tell you what the numbers are, but I can't imagine those numbers being remotely anywhere near Rolex's numbers.
So what I'm saying is that it makes more sense that this model is price-wise where it is versus a lot of others.
Versus, let's say, the Gold Sky Dweller, which is as comparable. And so this is now $43,000. So now I know that a lot of my viewers, based on the Q&A questions and everything else, a lot of my viewers always want me to look into a glass ball and see if it's a good investment.
Yep.
I tell them all the same thing. It's not a good investment. Things can happen overnight. They can drastically change the watch market, a particular model, and everything else.
Absolutely.
But so because this is now, in fact, discontinued, and no, it's discontinued, is this, again,
This is not discontinued.
I'm sorry, this is not discontinued?
No. The black and silver dials. This is the chocolate one. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was trying to say, actually. So now that the black and silver dials in rose gold are discontinued, they're trading at what?
They're trading damn near 40,000 now
Exactly.
again.
I mean, a few months ago we bought one for 28,000
Yeah,
in the black dial on a strap.
A few months ago, a lot of things
So is
happened.
this? So now that it went from that $28,000-$30,000 watch
Yeah.
to a $45,000 watch, somebody's going to ask me, well, is there still room for this thing to grow? Is this something I pick up now and bite the bullet and pay, even though I could have bought it $10,000 cheaper 6 months ago? Is there still growth potential in these type of pieces?
I would say do not buy that as an investment. I would say no.
And that's my. There's a reason why I asked him that question, you know. And the reason I asked that is because I tell you guys all the same thing. Yes, seemingly the black dial version of this, or even maybe this version, because this is probably soon going to be discontinued as well, seemingly would be a good buy. But it doesn't mean anything. Yeah. The market is hot. These things are trading at where they're trading because of where the market is today. Anything can happen overnight, and at the end of the day, these things are not investments. I don't think I have anything left to show. Oh, no, I do. I have two more. Actually, three more.
You got the rose ceramic.
Okay, so
15300.
this is a 15300.
It wasn't a sleeper. It was a coma.
It was in a coma, right? And Adrian picked one up in white dial, which he's wearing. I picked one up with a blue dial, and I'm not going to be wearing because I believe Anna already sold this thing.
And comment below which one you like better, the white or the blue dial.
It's very hard to show this blue off on camera. Let's see. Can you zoom in on that just so we can show off that blue? There we go. Beautiful.
Looks a bit black under that lighting.
Yeah, it's blue. Take my word for it. 2 years ago, I was at a trade show in Miami, the big Miami Antique Show, and our friend Bobby from ECJ, he had a new old stock, 15300, for $24,000. I told him, you out of your freaking skull. I offered him 14, right? Because at the time these things were trading in the mid-teens.
This was when?
This was 2 years ago. The Miami Antique Show, last one was during the Super Bowl, was the one before that. Or maybe it was 3 years ago. Maybe 3 years ago. I know it was already discontinued. But long story
It
short.
sure wasn't 15202 he was talking about
No,
a few years ago?
it was a 15300, and he wanted $24,000, and I looked at him like he was smoking crack. How much is this trading for today, Adrian?
28,000 with a blue dial.
$28,000. What about weight?
White dial, somewhere around a $25,000 mark. I would not let that watch go for under 28,000.
And the reason you're not going to let that go because you
I
can't.
cannot replace this.
Sales call 701, Rolex sales call 701.
You want to grab that?
Rolex sales call 701.
Oh yeah, take the Rolex, go. So whenever you look at a line, it's usually the plainer ones that tend to be more collective. If you look at Nautilus, if you look at Royal Oaks, I said to myself, this thing is definitely a sleeper. It got discontinued. 15500 came out. Then the 15400 came out on the 41 millimeter. Then the 15500 now came out. They scale it down back to 38 millimeters. So why not? So this is something that one can recognize early. Do I still think this is a good buy and a good investment? No, I'm not going to say it's an investment. Do I still think it's a good buy now? For one simple reason, because this is already discontinued. We know there will be no more of these. And case in point, here's another guy for you. And this is a mystery to me right here. I picked up a dual time Royal Oak in yellow gold on a strap. Same size, 39 millimeter from the same era as this watch. Why the hell is this watch trading in the mid-20s? Versus 40s on something like this. These are the kind of watches I believe are going to be the watches that, just like this one, 3 to 5 years from now, we're going to be like, oh, wait a minute, these things are 40 grand already.
I think aesthetically, actually, when I look at that watch, I kind of go like this.
No, because you look at it as if it's old news because it's an older dual time.
I'm not looking at it as old news. I just find the dial to be busy is not the word. It's just it's not refined.
Bro, it's a dual time power reserve. You
Okay,
have day-night indicators, right? You have your date, and you have a power reserve.
I don't like the layout of the dial for me personally, which
Okay,
I
let's
think
look at
most
these
people
two.
would agree. Yeah, it's much cleaner.
How is the chronograph much cleaner?
It just is, for me personally. You like the dual time? Buy yourself a dual time. Let me tell you.
I like the rose gold with the black dial.
I like it just as well. I like the kit, and that which I spoke about in my last video. I love the case size of this 39 on a strap.
Yeah, it's a lot more wearable.
A lot more wearable.
Here's a stainless steel plain Jane 15300 trading at $28,000, let's say, where a gold one, and this is a gold one in the mid-20s. It's more complicated. And that's kind of the biggest reason I picked that up. I think I'm out. No, I'm not out of watches. Are you out of
Rose
watches?
ceramic. Am I out of watches? I'm out of watches. You got a rose ceramic.
So rose ceramic, a watch that trades in the mid-30s.
Yep.
$35,000 to $36,000. I think this is sort of an answer to not paying a lot for a big gold watch from AP. This is the one watch because I can't think of another offshore out there in gold that trades at that price.
Right. Well, the 42.
The 42 what?
42 offshore on the strap. 26470 OR reference.
The other one, where are they at now?
Roughly around the same. Actually, probably more now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Roughly about the same.
I feel like this is my go-to. Somebody that's out there, he's not trying to spend a lot of money on a popular, on a most popular AP, I guess. Because look, you have these things on a bracelet trading at how much now in a different color combination? 60.
Sold.
Sold.
Yeah,
How much?
ship it to me.
Ship it. How much is that on a bracelet?
Here's a new thing that's going on. Is that not gonna mention any names, but there's people that are buying the straps and then they're buying the bracelets along with them. So they have bought the strap cheaper at some point, held it in stock. Now they're buying the bracelet, which is going to cost them, I don't know, 22, 25,000, and they're putting it together with the watch.
And selling it for how
Selling it
much?
together for 67,000 plus.
So to me, I mean, this watch is kind of an answer to, listen, I want a gold AP under 40,000, but I want a nice big size, I want a popular look, and ceramic and rose. I've always told you I love the combination of black ceramic and rose gold.
It's a sick combination.
This watch is a bit easier on the wrist due to the design of this, where if you look at the Montoya, I mean, they really did a good job. You can sort of see how on the Montoya that sticks out much more, plus the crown itself is much sharper, where on the ceramic, this is a little more subdued. Again, small wrist side like mine, it still might dig into the side of my wrist a little bit, but not as bad as the Montoya. This watch has surprisingly been the one watch that just kind of stayed in that price range.
And it's because of wearability.
I mean, you keep coming back to wearability,
all
and I agree with you that a majority
down
of the modern big watches are a little bit bulky for pretty much anybody, unless it's somebody who's a really big guy. But I'm also going to go back and say that we are in the market where it flip-flopped. There used to be the offshores that were the hottest, right? Offshores were the hottest thing on the market, and nobody really looked at Royal Oaks, right? Nobody cared whether they were limited or not limited. But now the tables have turned. It's now the Royal Oak that's in number one place versus the Royal Oak offshore. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
If you just look at any of the Royal Oaks, they're all premiums. Every single one across the board today is a premium. Talking about in current production,
okay.
is a premium and will bring over retail price. You will still probably
also a Royal Oak. Just saying.
In current production, Roman Sharf. There are offshores that you could still probably get a discount on. You will not get a discount on a Royal Oak, and it comes down it comes down to the fact that with AP specifically, size matters. An opposite approach. The bigger it is, the harder it is to sell.
You think that due to the fact that people have kind of gotten over the hype of oversized watches?
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, listen, you can see that happening in, newest production from AP, right? Royal Oaks, they scale them down to 38 millimeters. I mean,
they did Royal Oak Chrono. They scaled it to 38.
There's a reason why they did that.
Or how about this? They made, I think they hit the nail on the head, and I hope they continue down this path. The 26480 Ti was a new offshore that they made last year in titanium with the extra thin case. They made that in 42, and it's absolutely perfect because they scaled the case down, case size thinner, and it just wears big, but it's extremely comfortable.
So then riddle me this, all the while a lot of these companies, I guess a good example would be Hublot as well. Hublot has scaled down. I mean, they're not making those 48
those King Power monsters.
Those King Powers
like
are unsellable. Nobody wants them right now. I made an offer today on a Hublot King Power Dura Fuente limited edition, comes in a humidor and everything else, retails like $30-some thousand. I offered $8,000 on it. Yeah. Because I know it's going to take me forever to find a client for that, unless you find a really avid cigar smoker that wants that watch. So then riddle me this. Rolex.
Yeah.
Going up in size. I mean, going up in size. They went from 40 to 41, but they are going up in size.
Well, if you look at the pieces that they went up in size. Now, although they do well, Deep Sea changed the bracelet a little bit because the other bracelet was
that watch is stupid. I'm sorry. Big head, tiny legs is the thing.
Rolex let its friends skip leg day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yet still, there isn't James Cameron's, the Deep Seas. They still bring over lists because it's a Rolex sports model, but not as much as the other models. If you look at the James Cameron, you look at the regular Deep Sea, you look at the Sea Dweller 43, which essentially just kind of looks like a Submariner from far. Only
it's a little bit bigger.
Yeah. It's not that. It's popular, but it's not that popular. The two-tone Sea Dweller that they made in a 43. It's not that popular, but it still brings over lists. Now the other stuff just.
Between me, you, and the lamppost, I mean, a difference of a 40 millimeter Submariner versus a 41 millimeter Submariner. If I put the two side by side.
Did you see that meme that they came out with when the one guy was wearing like a striped shirt And it said, it said 40 millimeter, or no, they gave the reference number 116610LN. Then he was holding a cardboard box, and in it was the identical striped T-shirt. It says 126610LN. That was the best meme.
Personally, if you want to give me a blunt answer, I think Rolex is running out of shit to change, and they just said, okay, we're going to take a Submariner, we're going to make it 1 millimeter bigger, discontinue that one, make this one, and everybody's going to go ape. And guess what? It's exactly what happened. I guess let's wrap it up here, guys. I hope you enjoy. Again, we keep talking about QVC type style shows. We did show you some buys. We're going to continue doing this. We're going to continue bringing watches to the table to show you guys sort of what came in, because every time we buy some things, it brings up a topic, it brings up a conversation. It brings up the fact that you have two guys that know watches, can sit here, shoot the shit, and hope you guys enjoy listening.
I mean, listen, as you can see, we love what we do. We love the timepieces that are put in front of us. I would like for people to actually comment on the comments below to see what else you want us to talk about, because there's just a wide variety of stuff that we can talk about.
This for days, for hours. We can have a 10-hour show and nonstop. At least I know I can.
We just kind of want to hear from the fans and supporters of what they want us to talk about.
And a lot of you guys reached out to me via email and in the comments. I told you guys before, Adrian, you can contact him. You can contact him just the same. You'll probably get a faster answer out of him as well. Adrian at luxurybazaar.com. His Instagram is VIP Vault. We'll throw that up on the screen. Other than that, guys, I thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us and listening to what we have to say. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.